let's just say you want to smell gorgeous and refreshing this summer, but you don't want to smell like everyone else. You want a fragrance that will cut through that summer heat, but you don't necessarily want your typical citrus or lavender or Dolce & Gabbana light blue fragrance. You want something truly unique. This is the video for you because I have here 8 fragrances that will help you kind of beat the heat in the summertime. These are refreshing fragrances. All these fragrances either have unique notes, an interesting composition, or they're executed in a way that makes them unique enough, in my opinion, to be worth checking out if you want something truly unique and special for the summertime. If this is your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Anya. I love fragrances. I talk about them here every single weekday, Monday through Friday. I also publish additional content on TikTok and Instagram under the username ANECHKAFRAGRANCES. And if you're interested in history, I actually have a podcast called The Fragrance Report. And this podcast focuses very much on fragrance history. And I also use it as an opportunity to tell you about my fragrance favorites as the weeks progress. And if you're also someone who wants to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to how much money you're spending on fragrances, if you want to be more cognizant of the fragrances you currently have in your collection, I would highly recommend you check out and download my fragrance collection log and expense tracker that is available in my Stand store. If you want to visit one of the links below, you can check out my Stand store and see the log for yourself. And today's selection is actually incredibly diverse. I have here a Middle Eastern fragrance that's literally $25 or under. I have some kind of like mid-tier price fragrances, and I have a bit of niche, but there's literally something in here for every single price point. And I will say the vast majority of these fragrances are very unisex. There's probably only one fragrance here that might be a little bit more feminine leaning, but these are very, very approachable fragrances that, in my opinion, could work for anyone. So with that being said, let's get into it. I don't know about you, but I personally love a fragrance that's airy, that's aldehydic a little bit when it comes to finding a refreshing fragrance for the summertime. I know some people don't necessarily love aldehydes, and there are plenty of options in this video that do not have aldehydes in them, but this particular fragrance is a beautiful soapy aldehydic fragrance with some fruitiness, some ozonic qualities here, and also some white florals. This is Naki by Pernoire, and there is a bit of sweetness in here that especially comes through because of the passion fruit in this fragrance. And there's also a bit of almond blossom in this perfume, but on the skin, on me, it translates to something that's like very soapy, very elegant, very refreshing. This is a gorgeous fragrance to wear, especially if you're looking for something more unique for the summertime. So this fragrance has top notes of passion fruit, almond blossom, peach, and aldehydes, a mid of white flowers, fig leaf, and sandalwood, and then a base of osmanthus, C notes, vanilla, and white musk. I personally love this fragrance because it has that passion fruit accord here, but it's a very natural smelling passion fruit. The sweetness here is not overdone in the slightest, and the osmanthus really helps cushion the peachy aspects of this fragrance to make it even more kind of like fuzzy, kind of peachy smelling, which sounds really odd, but when you think of like the fuzzy skin on a peach, when you think of the peach skin and then also the peach and then the passion fruit, think of those, like think of that in your head, but also understand that this is not going to be an overtly sweet fragrance, which if we're thinking about the ideal summertime fragrance is so important because you really don't want anything that's going to be so sticky sweet that it's off-putting when it's super hot outside. This is really beautiful for that purpose, like for that kind of summertime fragrance without overdoing it on like the typical quintessential refreshing summer perfume. This is that beautiful elevated summertime fragrance that still plays around with tropical notes, but does it in like a very fresh and airy ozonic way. So yeah, Naki is a really great option. Another option from Pernoire that I absolutely love is a fragrance that I do not currently own, but it's called Viage. This is absolutely on the wish list. It has top notes of lime, pink pepper, black pepper, and bergamot, a mid of iris, angelica root, and gaiac wood, and then a base of marine notes, white musk, and ambergris. For me personally, when I'm trying to look for a fragrance that has citruses but smells a little bit more unusual, I will often go for a fragrance with a lime note. And some of the fragrances in this video do actually have lime, and I love them for that reason because you're able to kind of benefit from the refreshing quality of a citrus without necessarily smelling like every other citrus fragrance out there. So Viage is also a really great option if you're looking for something a bit peppery, slightly peppery, but more focused on that beautiful lime factor, something that's also really long lasting and has a beautiful musk to it, that's a really good option to sample as well. So let's kick things into a slightly different direction and talk about a fragrance that in my mind is appropriate for all year round, but I want to include it in this video because I do see this as a refreshing fragrance, but this is kind of like more of like a refreshing summer nights fragrance in my personal opinion, but I'd wear it all the time regardless. This is Kismet for Men by Maison Alhambra. It's specifically for men, but in my mind, this is very much unisex, universally appealing. I think anyone can rock this fragrance very effectively. This is a beautiful fragrance that also is under $25. It's so inexpensive, it's laughable. This perfume has notes of woody notes and nutmeg at the top, a mid of patchouli, sandalwood, cacao, and coffee, and then a base of vanilla and vetiver. The vetiver here really adds to like the refreshingness of this fragrance, and this fragrance smells like a man in a suit. It smells like a lightly spiced aromatic fragrance with like a bit of woodiness that transcends throughout this perfume. If you're someone who loves sandalwood, if you're someone who likes more aromatic fragrance and you want something that's very well blended, that smells expensive without spending a lot of money, this is really good. I love this fragrance, and you can tell how much I love it by how much I've used it. It's phenomenal. This is amazing, and I think that this is not necessarily going to be like your typical summer fragrance, but if you're looking for something elegant for summer, like for kind of like summer nights, I probably wouldn't wear this if it was like super, super hot outside, but this is like, in my mind, the perfect summer nighttime fragrance. But to be completely honest, I'd wear this year round. Earlier in this video, I talked about how one of the fragrances in this video is a little bit more feminine leaning, and that would definitely be Gentle Reminder by Snif. This is a warm, musky fragrance with some kind of fruitiness in the form of a date note here, but it's very light. It's a very cushiony fragrance. It's a very relaxing, soothing fragrance that also has a note of lavender. Think velvety soft, very beautiful, kind of cushiony, pillowy, with that signature kind of Snif musk that they have in several of their fragrances. This is really beautiful. And the reason why I want to include it in this video is because it's kind of like, it's not like traditionally refreshing. It's not like a fragrance that you immediately think as suited for the summertime, but if you're looking for a nice, cushiony, musky perfume that's not going to be overpowering for the summertime, this, in my mind, is a really good versatile option. But then something that's a little bit more traditionally green, since a lot of the fragrances in this video are green, is Wow Factor by Snif. I adore this fragrance. This is like your green fragrance with a bit of citrusiness to it, some white florals. There's like a sharp kind of a sharp green nature to this, but it's just enough so it's not off-putting. If you're someone who's interested in exploring green fragrances, I would say Wow Factor is a really good first option. It also has rose, I believe, but I love this so much. It's like instantly like refreshing. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And the thing is, with green fragrances, I find that they can be some of the most refreshing fragrances because that like vegetal fresh smell oftentimes can also be refreshing. You don't always have to just like go for the citrusy fragrances just to get a refreshing kind of nature to your fragrance. You can also go for something that's like green, which is why I really love Wow Factor. I think it's absolutely stunning. And I just sprayed it twice, but already it smells so good. Yeah, this is a really beautiful fragrance. I love it very much. So these two fragrances are a little bit more affordable. They're around $55 US, and you can also use my code Anya10 for some extra money off. But something that's a little bit more high end is Once Minerale. This was one of the first fragrances one of the first niche fragrances I ever added to my collection. And at the time, I was really looking to add unique niche fragrances. Like, I wasn't ready to be spending a lot of money on a fragrance unless it was truly unique and special. And I gravitated towards this because it is all of those things. It's a very unique, beautiful, and approachable fragrance. This is by Cult of Kaori. This is inspired by a Japanese onsen, and it's interesting because this fragrance was initially meant to be a kind of wintertime fragrance, but I think because there's a beautiful set of aldehydes in here, like there's like some kind of lychee aldehyde here that translates to smelling like hot steam, which is really interesting. But this also has yuzu, which is a bitter citrus. So it's citrus, but there's a unique quality to it. It's nothing you've smelled before. And there's a woody base. There's also some like aromatics in here. This literally smells like being in a hot steam sauna with the woods all around you and like aromatics, you know, scenting your surroundings with that yuzu. This is beautiful, it's refreshing, and you will not smell like anyone else if you wear this fragrance. It's a very unique perfume, very special, and also a little bit goes a long way. This, quite frankly, is beast mode. This is tremendously good value for your money, and I've had this for like years, and like this is the dent I've made in this, specifically because a little bit goes a long way. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. To be honest, it's probably going to be a fragrance that could be better suited for summer nights. I definitely would not wear this like in direct sunlight, in high heat. I'd probably wear this when it's a little bit, you know, it's nighttime, there's a bit of a breeze going, but this is excellent. It's like refreshing, but it's not typical. It's very unusual. So definitely a highlight in my personal fragrance collection. Definitely recommend you try it out. Okay, so if we're talking about unique smelling fragrances, this is another option. Love at First Sight by Une Nuit Nomade. I talk about this fragrance a lot. I really enjoy wearing this in the summertime because it sings in the summer. To be honest, I don't even touch this fragrance in the wintertime or in the cold months because it kind of falls flat. But there are a few fragrances that will just, I call it sing, because that is like the best way I can describe it, because they just project and they're beautiful. So this is one of them. So this is Love at First Sight. It has key notes of passion fruit, aldehydes, and lilac. It's a very photorealistic smelling lilac, but the passion fruit and the aldehydes here kind of make it a little bit more modern. So if you're talking, like if you might think that, or if you think that this would smell like grandma, it doesn't. I don't even like that descriptor, but like I feel like if I say lilac, people are thinking, okay, well, it's gonna smell like old school. It does not. It does not. It's a beautiful passion fruit fragrance, but the lilac here is definitely center stage, accented with that passion fruit and amped up with the aldehydes. This is beautiful. It's such an amazing perfume, and I have used it for years. You guys know how much I love this. This is beautiful. If you love passion fruit and you want something a little bit more floral, get this. It's gorgeous. Another fragrance that's good for all year round, but this is definitely a very good fragrance for hot weather as well, is Tuesday by R.L. Shoshana. I love this fragrance. It smells like being in a spa. There is a beautiful set of mint tea notes here, accented with some guava that really comes through in the heat. And this fragrance literally smells like being in the spa. That's like the best way I can describe this. There's also a little bit of coconut water in here, guava. This is a gorgeous, aromatic, refreshing fragrance. And the refreshing quality of this fragrance is really amped up with that mint. It's not like a sharp mint though. It's not like your mint that you might see in like typical masculine fragrances. On the contrary, it's a kind of like tea mint, in my opinion. I really love it. And it's also beast mode. A little bit goes a long way. This will last you all day. It's gorgeous. So beautiful. So R.L. Shoshana, Tuesday. Next up is one of my favorite fragrances to wear specifically as a hair perfume, and I love this because it's refreshing, it's zesty, and it still also works well with so many other fragrances or so many other scents, not necessarily layered on top of those scents, even though it can work in that way, but I'm thinking more of like as a hair perfume or as like a, you know, clothing scent, because I wear this fragrance on my clothes and in my hair, and I already know that it's going to work well with whatever scents I tend to wear on my skin. This is Commodities Gin. I love this. It's from their archive collection, or their archive remastered collection, that's only really available in their Soho boutique, even though they do occasionally make it available online as well. But if you happen to be making your way to New York, I highly recommend you check out their in-store experience, because they have a whole bunch of archive selections that have been remastered, rebottled, and are beautiful. But Commodities Gin has juniper berry, grapefruit juice, and lime at the top, a mid of ginger leaf, freesia, and labdanum, and then a base of patchouli, smoky oak, and musk. This smells like the most delicious set of aromatics that you'll find in a gin kind of drink. It smells beautiful. The juniper berry and the grapefruit juice and lime really help this fragrance open up with so much zestiness that I love. Again, I talked about earlier in this video how sometimes if you add gin or if you add lime to a fragrance, it can provide that refreshing quality that a citrus will provide without smelling like every single other citrus fragrance. And in this case, the pairing with the grapefruit juice is just chef's kiss. I love this so much. Every single person I've had try this loves it. And that's how it is for a reason. I love this a lot. This is a beautiful fragrance. Highly recommend you check it out. I've had this since December and I'm already a quarter of the way through this fragrance. If you can see, I am obsessed with this. This is amazing. And then another fragrance is also very unique and interesting and still refreshing is A Grove by the Sea by Arquiste. This fragrance has notes of olive, fig leaf, salt, fennel, and clementine at the top, a mid of olive, fig, thyme, and rosemary, and then a base of balsam fir, pine needles, cypress, and clay. One of the qualities in this fragrance that makes it refreshing in that unique way I was referring to is the salt. Contrary to what many of us might think, salt can actually be a really effective way to provide a refreshing scent to fragrances without smelling too stereotypical, which I say a lot in this video. I'm realizing this as I'm editing this, but the thing is with this fragrance is that it really does smell like Mediterranean summer. It's creamy. The herbs in this give it like that kind of refreshing aromatic nature. It's buttery in like a kind of olive oil-esque way, which I found really intriguing when I first smelled this. And on the skin especially, it just warms up to smelling very creamy, which I love. And the salt, there's just like a hint of salt here that adds like that kind of refreshing nature to this. This is beautiful. This is stunning. I was wearing this as soon as it got a little bit warmer. Like I was obsessed with it and I still am. It's a very soothing and refreshing fragrance. It smells very expensive. It also projects very effectively. People can still smell you and you can also kind of smell yourself. It's a very calming and soothing fragrance too with those herbs. I love it so much. It's definitely one of the favorites in my collection. Stunning. But yes, those are all the fragrances I wanted to mention today. Definitely do let me know. Have you tried any of these fragrances? If so, what were your thoughts? What are your favorite summer fragrances? I love summertime because it's such a fun opportunity to play around with scents in a new way. I also love summer gourmands, and I think a lot of these fragrances could qualify as summer gourmands, even though they're not necessarily going to be like your typical sweet fragrances, but they do have gourmand notes. You clearly can tell that I love passion fruit, as is evidenced by some of these fragrances. But do let me know, what are your favorite summertime fragrances? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you next time. Bye.